All right, everybody. Once again, welcome to the Professional Goblins podcast. I'm one of your wonderful hosts wearing a very stylish shirt today. I'm Scott Gladstein, and with me, as always, is...
Mike Myler. Hi, everybody. How you doing?
And always the enchanting.
Savannah Broadway, apparently hosting with Hadrian the Fish because he's present.
Is Pelly MIA?
Well, she's boycotting me right now.
Oh, okay, that happens.
We're having bird marital problems, man.
I get it.
You know.
Pelly left the nest for a bit.
Yeah.
Flew the coop. I'm gonna stop with these puns. All right, so today we're joined by the immortal Sasha Hall. Hi, who are you? Why do people love you? Why should we love you? Because we already do, but tell the world.
My name is Sasha Hall. I am a third-party writer for, Pathfinder role-playing game and hopefully other games soon. I am an amazing person that does amazing writing work. My first published thing was with Scott.
Which one was your first one?
The first thing I got published, actual design credit I ever got published.
No, but which one was it?
Did you have something in Varantia Codex? Or am I thinking of somebody else? I might be thinking of another.
I think I actually wrote anything for that. I know I got the Torturer published by you. Was my first actual written credit.
Okay.
Which is a very fun way to start a conversation. And I tend to try to approach things from outside the box things, and I'm good at words, but even if it doesn't seem like I am.
Written words are very separate from spoken words, I found.
Yeah.
You as an editor thing, you found that once or twice?
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know, our show is kind of a segmented one. We go ahead and we break it down to different sections. Each of us kind of talks on it, or today's mum, I guess. The first section is our game stories, and who wants to start tonight? Anyone have one they really are just itching to tell?
I have one that's not a game story. It's a story about a real person that you'd think came from a game.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Let's go for it.
Yeah. So this is, again, I want to preface this is a real person. His name is Bruno Sammartino. He is a local celebrity here in Pittsburgh and a C-list celebrity, but he's friends with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the whole, you knew Andre the Giant, but that whole muscle building crew. Yeah, that was his thing. He was in the WWE until a controversy happened and got kicked out because he basically wouldn't throw a match. And ultimately he's been they forgave him and stuff and put him in their Hall of Fame or whatever the fuck it is. And he won the Dapper Dan Award. He's a really nice, great guy. And he's Italian.
He sounds like a PC, in real life, like a player character.
Yeah. So he moves to America from Italy in the, I think, 60s. And he's working down in the steel factory in Pittsburgh, and the circus comes to town, right? And they have an orangutan, and they promise, I think it was $100 or $150 to anybody who gets into a ring with the orangutan for 2 minutes. And he's a big dude. So he's okay, I'll do this. And there are no laws against it at that point. So whatever.
Fight an orangutan like one does.
Yeah. And $150, that's a whole week of work. And then when people saw him go and get talking to this guy, bets starting to go down. So it quickly became a whole month, 2 months worth of pay if he got in the ring with this orangutan. And I've heard him tell the story a couple times, but it's much better in his thick Italian accent. But basically, he said it scratched him and attacked him with all limbs. And most people don't know this, but orangutans are way stronger than we are.
I was gonna say surprised it didn't pop his ribcage like a grape.
Exactly. So he said it just scratched and furiously clawed him for a minute, and then he got his hand around its neck and just reflexively punched it in the face and knocked it the fuck out.
Jesus.
And then the ringmaster was like, "Hey, have you ever thought about a job in show business?" And
I would say in gorilla punching, but okay.
Right? Yeah. Then he became a wrestler and joined WWE and all this other shit happened. But yeah, how can you even imagine explaining that to somebody?
Having that on your resume. I punched an orangutan that one time.
I knocked one
KO'd
out.
an orangutan, and that's why I'm here in the studio with you today, Kurt. That's just ridiculous.
Well, no, imagine the precedents that set. Does he have children?
Oh yeah, he had 3 kids. Yeah.
So imagine the precedents that set. like career day. Like, well, what does your dad do? Well, he punched an orangutan and he entered into that. And they're like, well, my dad's an accountant, and like, he's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, he hung out with Andre the Giant last week, and he's like, well, I guess my friend's friends with his dad. Like, Todd, your dad's cool, right? He's like,
look, I'm a contractor, but I happen to know Bruno really good. We're neighbors. So let me tell you about when I saw Andre the other month. Yeah. And he's a super nice dude, by the way. If you ever get the chance to like go to an event with him, like bring him anything with him on, and he will happily sign it for free and talk to you. And he's a great guy, and like a tank. Last time I saw him, he was jogging, and he was in the hospital a week before, and like he still had staples in his spine.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
What happened that he needs staples in his spine?
Oh, he's huge and he's old.
Oh, okay. See, that's really like a letdown. You should have been like, that's classified. Like build up the suspense, man.
No, he wrestled a bear.
That's the most
wrestling an orangutan wasn't enough. He had to.
He lifted a car with his teeth. Yeah.
That's why he has dentures now. He gave the car.
Well, no, huge and old is very specific. It's a very technical field of medicine.
And when you have a lot of mass, it is a serious issue getting old because your bones go and your muscles deteriorate, but you still weigh a lot. So, and like to get rid of, you got to starve yourself to get rid of muscle. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
So I do all the SCA stuff, and there's all these older guys who do like hardcore, like in armor, like beating the shit out of each other with like full force, like like solid rattan weapons. And they're always like, how do you guys win tournaments? And they're like, well, the young guys are quick and strong. We're old and crafty. And the and the best part is like old is a qualifier there. It's on par with like young, like we're old and crafty, and sometimes crafty wins out. And I don't know, man. I would like to see an old guy. I'd like to see him go round 2 with an orangutan.
Oh no, I don't need to see that. I'm sure he said he never wants to do that again, and that it was the most unpleasant experience of his life. And I believe him too, because like an animal screeching in fury, clawing away at you, and like it has nowhere to go, so it's just gonna keep doing that. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, that sounds terrible.
I'd like to say I'd never punch a monkey, but
that sounds like a sex thing. Punch a monkey.
It does.
It does.
All right, we're 5 minutes in, guys. Sounds good. Sounds good. So I got a story here. If no one else wants to jump in,
as long as it's not about punching the monkey, yes.
It's not about punching or slapping or haranguing anything. This is about my second LARP character ever. I joined this game, Mythical Journeys, when I was 16, and then the event after it they changed it to 18. So for 2 years, I was the youngest person there. Legally speaking, I was the youngest person there by at least 2 years. Most people were in their 30s. And I was 16 and impressionable, and it was great. So my second character, because at the end I played as a cast member a lot, so I got all these extra points. So I played as a special race. I played as one of their unique races, which is a fiend elf. They're like, there's an elf society that bound themselves to fiends and like.
Is this the Still story?
No, it's the same character though.
Okay, all right.
So he has been getting shit on all event. The first few, like literally, I came back recently and they said, "Oh, you're the whipping boy from before." I remember, and I'm like, "Great, thanks." But he was the emotional whipping boy of the town. Just like everyone's like, "Yeah, keep going, bro." But they literally whipped me at one point. It was great. A man in a wig. It was a very long wig, but he wasn't feminine. He was just very long-haired wig whipping me, and it was good. Anyway, so there was.
I'm glad you found your kink, Scott.
I did. There was a time though that I was in the town guard, and we had the unfortunate time of having to interrogate some goblins. And they go, "Well, who knows how to interrogate?" And the fiend elf just looks like, "I get to do something, yes!" And so I start role playing like. Hey, we're talking about torture earlier. I start cutting off fingers and stuff. And the next event, like maybe 2 events later, my mom actually liked going, and she didn't really get LARP, but she really just liked the people and the role playing aspect. So my mom is like, mid 40s, early 50s, or something, early 50s at the time, I think. And they sent her out as a goblin. And they all are carrying signs to the town meeting, and they're chanting, "We want restitution." And squeaky goblin voice is going, "We want restitution!" And my character's sitting there like, "Oh, fuck. Sweet fuck. Sweet God fuck." No. Oh, it wasn't on the town guard yet. That's right. It was the first event. So I got put on the town guard half for my own protection because people kept killing me in the borders of the town, and half sentenced to it so that I could serve out my restitution to the goblins whose fingers I removed. But yes, that was
Okay.
how I started that character. It was a great time.
There
I get
we
to go back
go.
as him in the spring. It'll be amazing. I'm sure
I was
I'll
worried
have
for
big sword.
there was gonna be like a bunch of us were forced to strip down to our underwear.
Well, at one
Put up-
point,
Like-
there was this lady who was role playing a younger girl, and she looked very young anyway. And she was supposed to be the Lord's daughter or something from the town, or some high muckety muck's daughter. And the joke was she was an NPC. She was played by one of the cast members, and this is on a 4-H camp. There's 50 cast members. It's great.
Is his name just Donald? Just blonde?
No.
Okay.
So she would walk out with whoever was her babysitter and kill them. But I was way too intent on stuff, and we ended up across a bunch of roving monsters who were orcs. So I forget how it happened, but I ended up shirtless. Now I am pasty white as shit, and I was 16 and gangly and skinny as a rock. And I'm
Did you blind them all?
I basically did. But I came back with shirtless with 2 straps across my chest with this little girl and holding her flail, and everyone's just like, Valamos, what'd you do? And I'm like, nothing, I swear. And they're like, why? And I'm like, oh, this guy had the scars, these done on scars from this ritual thing that had been done to try to purge evil. Long story short, hey, it was the guy with the wig, that guy. So I had all these scars and this cross on, and this pasty white dude walking to town with this little girl, and everyone's just like, the fuck? And the orcs are like, we don't want part of this, dude. We don't want part of this. And the only time she didn't kill somebody on the adventure was just because I terrified the orcs and looked like a fucking BDSM gimp. It was great. Hey man,
There we
I
go.
learned all sorts of things about myself during that event.
Role playing is good for that.
It was great. But I seriously am very excited to come back as Valamos. That they have told me, even though he's tossed into hell, basically, they have not told me how he's coming back. Which the plot is the most wicked GM in the world. So I know it's not going to be fun for him, but it'll be a lot of fun for me.
Cool. Well, congratulations on reappropriating your character.
Yeah, I actually had to wait. I just heard a few days ago that they're letting me come back as him because he wasn't technically dead. So
Sure, yeah.
Were you just mostly dead?
I was tossed into Discord, which is kind of their version of Limbo, maybe hell, with a little bit more hell, where all the fiends chill. And if you stay there for too long, you get perverted. But then there was a merging of realities. I came back as one event as a different version of Val, alternate universe Val. So there might actually be somewhere in the middle Val.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, so who's up next?
I can go.
All right, Sasha.
I was gonna say, do you want to go, Sasha?
All right, yeah. So this story is from an ongoing campaign. It's actually, I was thinking of doing a different character from that campaign, my character, but then I realized there's a different character in that campaign that I feel will be much more amusing to talk about. So it's a 5th edition campaign.
So what?
And it's this D&D 5th edition
Got it,
campaign.
yeah.
And it's the first campaign I've had with this group of people, but I've been friends with a few of them for a while. And so it's this character this friend of mine who has decided he's going to play a very, very elderly tiefling chef who is a true neutral paladin. And the reason why this elderly tiefling grandmother, Gordon Ramsay-esque paladin is true neutral is because she basically shifts all over the alignment spectrum, all over all opportunities. She's usually close to neutral, but she's also had things that are just aping lawful evil. Oh hey, you don't like to cook with her thing is she's a terrible baker and she was raised by Santa. It's this very strange backstory. She was raised by Santa, but she was raised by Santa because she was a terrible baker. And she was told that, well, you're a tiefling. You can just cook the best meats because you can just sit in the middle of the fire and cook the meat. And her whole thing, there's all these very strange stories, but she is this character that has become this meme amongst our friend circle because, like, whenever someone does something completely unexpected, it's, oh, you pulled a Casey goddamn Cook.
Okay.
And
There
just
you
a number
go.
of stories
That's how you
involve,
know
like,
you've achieved success.
yes, and one of the funny things, and the main thing I learned from this character was that, like, you don't need to be a serious character at all times to be a good character. Like, we have, like, Casey Goddamn Cook is one of the strangest, most amusing, hilarious characters I've ever been in a campaign with. But is also, when she needs, and she was, like, perfect comedic, like, the player has, like, very good comedic timing that sometimes ruins things, sometimes makes them so much better. But with the amount of, like, angst and edginess in the rest of the campaign, it makes it very fitting. And one of the and, like, oh god, Casey once, like, had this very long argument with someone, like, shouting down a hallway that she, like, down a staircase. She's like, why do you refuse to cook with fire? That's blasphemy that you refuse to cook with heat. I'm an ice elemental. Oh. And there's this running gag where she just keeps acquiring barrels, just, like, wooden barrels, and rolling around in them, and it doesn't make sense. Like, we had this joke that, like, they were all going to get Christmas gifts, which is basically just me, like, getting an excuse to get back into writing rhythm. Like, I will homebrew you something as a Christmas gift that you'll get at some point in the campaign. And because, like, co-GM and co-play and stuff. And the player was like, I just want another barrel. I can't homebrew you a barrel. Are you sure?
So we've actually had the barrels within a barrel. Like a bag of endless holding? We had the barrels of
Yes.
endless holding in a game that could shrink down. So they end up being, put this much in it, and it shrinks down to something about this big. And the GM put it in the game, Caleb, and all of a sudden we were like, hey, guess what? We're going to put one inside the other and shrink one, take a bunch of tiny barrels and hide inside one of the barrels and get the air and all the stuff we needed. And we figured out we could survive, like, planar fall gravity, like orbital fall gravity, and that's how we survived the final boss fight, was by hiding within a barrel within a barrel.
That's amazing. Now I want to write a barrel of monkeys for Casey.
Savannah, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Savannah has muted herself.
I think Savannah has muted herself.
Oh, she's talking to somebody.
Sorry, the bird was acting up, and I muted myself to bring that down. Anyway, is that why they made the rule that you couldn't put a portable hole in a bag of holding? Because I feel like the barrel within a barrel thing, it's just going to do something terrible with dimensions.
Yeah.
When you say barrels, I'm just like, why wouldn't you just, like, have a bag of holding with barrels to throw at people? Like,
You
don't
could do that too.
That's what I'm thinking.
I just remembered that we had that because that was part of the economic part, was
Weaponized
they were
barrels.
shipping goods in them, because you could ship a shit ton of goods in a tiny barrel. You could carry around, like, a week's worth of food in, like, a little capsule, basically.
Yeah, sure.
No Dragon Ball Z influences were here at all. I promise.
I was literally about to make a Dragon Ball Z joke, but okay.
So, Savannah, you got something for us this week?
Yeah, so I've been sitting on this one for a bit, so it's nice to, like, talk about it. I think I may have mentioned before, I'm in a 13th age game that's taking place in, like, pseudo-Arthurian England type setting.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the characters that I'm running is the current manifestation of the Hummingbird Prince, who is a female human who is kidnapped by the Fae as a child and trained to be a knight. And the idea is that each of them, like, there's not lots of them, there's a succession of them because they die very quickly. They're intended to be, like, the avatar of heroism.
Oh, okay.
And you can only really be, like, courageous if the deck's stacked against you. So, like, the Fae are dicks and, like, send them out at, like,
really?
16. What?
Said, wait, no, really? Fae are dicks? I've never heard this before.
Yeah, I know, right? So they're like, yeah, no, kid, here's a sword, maybe here's some armor. Like, some of them are more intended to succeed than others. And like, go have fun and, like, slay monsters and stuff. And so this version of the Hummingbird Prince is very, very set against the whole dying heroically thing. And so I centered her entire build. She's a paladin in 13th age. And I centered her entire build around not dying. And the GM allowed us to, he wanted everyone to be human, but you could pick a different racial trait if you want to sub in. And so I took the Gearforge trait, never say die. Is that in 13th Age, one of the great things about it is that you have healing surges, which, you know, means that if you go into a dungeon without a cleric, you're not toast.
I recall another game with healing surges that did not go over so well.
Yeah.
Fourth ed?
Oh, I mean, I have gouged everything from 4th ed out of my memory. 13th Age is what 4th ed has wet dreams about being.
Again, 4th edition wasn't that bad, guys. They just shouldn't have called it Dungeons and Dragons. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. That was the problem. 13th Age actually has a lot of the same people who worked on 4th ed.
Edition, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really good game. But anyway, point being is that when you drop below 0 hit points, then, you know, you roll to stabilize, and then you can, like, try to get up and blah, blah, blah. But if you have never say die, the minute you drop below 0 hit points, you get to roll, and if you succeed on your roll, then you just spin the healing surge, and they're like, no, fuck you.
Nice.
Yep. So that's her short-term plan of not dying, is, like, she has an ability that allows her to, like, roll against ongoing damage earlier, you know, stuff like that. She has, like, an insane AC.
CYA character, I like it.
Plan is that she wants to hunt monsters, because in this setting, monsters are immortal. If you kill them, they just reform later, and that's why there's all these mythical creatures.
I like that.
But before she was the Hummingbird Prince, she was raised by a bunch of crazy cultists out in a swamp, and figured out the frowned upon magic of soul eating. And so she's attempting to become immortal via eating monster souls. And
anime about this.
Since Fae are defined by their stories, she wants to rewrite the story of the Hummingbird Prince and be like, nope, and then the Hummingbird Prince ascended and became immortal, and there are no more ever fuck you fairies.
You know there's an anime about that, right?
Yes, there definitely is.
It's called Toriko, and it's very silly and very weird.
Fair. Well, this is somewhat less silly. But the cool encounter that she had beyond just, you know, being a soul-eating badass is that the great, like, I never run characters with great AC, or at least not armor-based AC, and we were fighting a monster whose special move was to rip your limbs off. And he got the first attack in on her to latch on, but every time he rolled to rip her arm off, he kept failing. So we decided that Clear was just a very good dancer, and so he'd, like, try and wrench her arm off, and she'd just, like, step into it, and they're just going around in circles as she's, like, stabbing him. So,
good.
Sounds appropriate for Hummingbird Prince.
Yep.
Indeed. No, you gotta take your chances where you can get it.
You should get you should use a lance and be like, and it's because the long nose is required by hummingbirds.
Exactly.
So
well,
it's nothing to do with staying far away from everyone.
Yes. Well, that is definitely what I wanted to do, but lances are much less effective when you're not on horses.
Of course. Yeah.
And horses are more effective when it's not the middle of winter.
I wrote an entire 200+ image, 20-page paper last weekend on the arms and armor display at the Metropolitan. That basically you could sum up with: weapons are tools designed for a specific purpose. Lances are designed for a very specific purpose.
Except for the katana, obviously, which is meant.
Oh yeah, that's the greatest weapon ever. It's just folded 1,000 times. Yeah, it's shit on by God. I mean, whatever, man. I got it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely.
Give me 10 katanas. Just hold all.
See, I thought you were going to say, I wrote this entire supplement about how you can put snowshoes on horses. And I'm like, okay, Scott, I'm going to bring that up to the GM.
All right. I mean, is that a challenge? Like.
Yes. that is the next thing that I want to hear from you, Scott.
All right.
We need snorses.
Snorses, I like it.
Favorite working projects.
Favorite working project. Well, mine is obviously Snorses.
Clearly the horseshoe one.
Snorses, yes. So who wants to go first here?
I mean, Sasha, if you wouldn't mind, I'm very intrigued by this spell list occultist stuff.
Yay! Okay, yeah, that's the thing I'm writing. So I'm writing it for Lost Spheres, which is the
Kristen Sowards.
Yep.
yes,
A friend of the
words.
show.
Yes.
Indeed.
I'm great at words, guys. And it's this class called the Successor, and the idea is like it kind of spawned in my brain when I was like, what if there was an occultist, except instead of being based on like wizard schools, it was based on like a weird mix of like themes of sorcery, like inherited heirlooms and stuff, but also instead of just being, oh look, bloodlines, it was like no, it's like there's the different categories of like the thing you can do are based on like kind of the core 4 classes. Like you have the heirloom of cunning, or like I'm a rogue, but you have all these different heirlooms and they do different things, and they're like each one is like has like a couple powers, and you invest just like an occultist. You put like your points into them and you invest them, and I'm very much gesticulating right now. And you put these points into your heirlooms, and they basically functions as an occultist without spells, which means it's much more talent focused, and it's much more focused on just like, hey, you're not just a caster with some cool other abilities. Those are your main thing, and you can like, depending on your heirloom choices, you could be like you could be like this super tanky like mafia priest or something with cunning, faith, and war or something.
Like a Vixen situation, like the Vixen DC comic superhero. She's like heirloom power, and it's not like she casts bull strength on herself. She's just like a bull appears around her, and then she suddenly is a bull, like that. But you've got like multiple totems, not just like one.
And it plays with different classes.
Kind of. It's like
the paradigm of base classes. Got it.
Yeah. It sounds cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
So,
so on that note,
yeah.
to tie in, I've been doing some brainstorming on my Seven Seraph stuff, and so I came to the realization there are not enough icy undead.
Okay.
I'm just gonna point that out. So my goal is, I haven't decided if it's going to be an undead or a construct, but something I would like to see is, considering their like version of burial grounds is like a giant magical glacier that they just slap corpses onto and freeze them over. So yeah, I need like a big ice golem / undead / whatever with stabby ice claws that just kind of has like undead bodies sort of hanging around. Ooh, they might be kind of placed like bones or something. That could be interesting. And like that's what animates it. I feel like undead are more compelling than constructs.
Yeah.
Wendigos are also theoretically frost.
That's true. That's true. I don't know. I recognize that they're classified as undead, but they don't feel like undead.
Mythologically, they definitely are. They've passed beyond the world of the living, beyond mortal men, by consuming the flesh of man and dying of frostbite.
I wouldn't say that Wendigo are frost. You're talking about Wendigo and not Yeti.
I'm talking about Wendigo. That's the actual historical basis of it, or as historical as you can get.
Right.
I'd looked them up for something recently.
Yeah, but it's just it's definitely like you can clearly see like this was not a Western idea of undead. Which
I got it. Yeah.
But D&D is very Western undead in a lot of ways.
It's very Eurocentric period. I mean, that's why I wrote all those, non-European source
non-Western
books.
focused things.
I'm like, can we just do Polynesia? Can we do this? Can we do that? Oh my God, why? Just anything,
What about the cannibal stuff with Wendigos?
You have to do, like I said, you have to commit cannibalism, then you freeze to death. Though some cases it's your heart freezes and then you die.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like sometimes the freezing to death is optional. You definitely have to eat your buddies.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm.
It's the freezing of the heart that does it, is what it is.
There we go.
A lot of times that's literal, though.
Fair. Unless you're in Call of Cthulhu, and then you just pick up an amulet, and then you're just fucked in your Wendigo.
There you go. So, I'm doing Forces of Red Sector. I'm still talking about that a bit, because we're still writing it. Sasha, we talked about the thing you're contributing last week a little bit. grenade swords. I like it. But the other thing is we're working on more Solarian and operative things. Solarian is still very much raw notes, work in progress stuff, but we're doing. I don't want to just do here's some extra revelations because they have enough fucking options for those. My God, I was at 18th level. I just had so many options. I didn't know what to do with it. It's option paralysis, man. It was so bad. But we're gonna do a different solar manifestation, maybe 2 or 3. We're playing around with the idea of doing like a animal companion stand kind of shadow U type of thing. We may call it the stellar shadow. We have to decide. Which we're playing with implementation of that. But we're also doing potentially kind of Green Lantern-y stuff. We're avoiding the whole cliche of, oh, you had a sword manifestation, now you have a gun manifestation, because that's just really boring, I always thought.
Yeah.
But the operative, we're having a lot of fun with a lot of the themes. There wasn't a lot covered in the book. There's specializations, so we're really getting to branch out and do weird stuff with it. There's some stuff that just has a truck-sized hole you could drive a specialization through. Because I think it feels like this is Pathfinder before the APG, you know what I mean? So it's like they haven't really touched a lot of the groundwork. So hey, low-hanging fruit and all that. I'm sure we'll be convergent designing this a bit. So I'm ready for someone to wipe out all we did in their next big book. But let's see. We had the kind of airborne ranger thing going on, so they're more like jump jet assault people. We have, it's not like an arcane trickster, but it's kind of a mage slayer, magic slayery thing. Something weird about designing specializations is you can't give them a lot of shit at early level to define them. You can't tweak how they play to like 5th level. So if you're like, oh, these guys should clearly have like unarmed strike, you can't be like, oh, here you go, unarmed strike, because you don't get any. You can't give them anything as per how it's like the current design paradigm exists. We always tweak that at 1st level or at early level, so it feels less and less like an archetype in Pathfinder would have much more like a talent list option, which is what it's supposed to be like, but it kind of exists in a place halfway between both of them, I think. But yeah, it's having a lot of fun. A lot of people ask for operative and Solarian stuff, and when we were talking about it with some people, and I'm like, all right, I'm definitely down to write it. I want to make this a great book, so pretty stoked about that. Some weird ones come out of it too, obviously, because it wouldn't be us if it wasn't weird as shit.
Truth. Are there any were toucans?
Not in this one, but that's in the one with what's his name?
Party bus?
Yeah. No, that's not Alien Party Bus. That's in the Werepire
least
book.
effective were thing ever.
Werepire book for right,
yeah. Which is not on hold, but I have other things that are ahead of it right now. I have to finish it up. But yeah, I got that one. We got Odd Goddess finishing up. I don't know. It's a good time, and I have a weird project that might be coming to fruition. I'm not sure, but
cool.
It's ominous and amazing.
It is.
It's like kind of like. I'm not sure how much I want to talk about it, but it's kind of like it draws a lot from Gnosticism. It's based with Starfinder, but it doesn't let you build. It kind of gives you pre-made characters that you can kind of tweak, and it's almost like a little bit like a MOBA or like a maybe an FPS. I'm not sure how to describe it. It's its own weird, bizarro thing that you
put on Facebook a while ago.
What?
You posted it on Facebook a while ago?
In one form or another, but it's really morphed into something very. I fell down a rabbit hole, guys. It was good and weird and fucked up, and
yeah.
If that comes to fruition, I'll write about it. I'll tell you guys about it, I'm sure. So, Mike,
that's awesome.
What are you doing this week?
Well, let's see. I finally really finished adding stuff to the Book of Exalted Darkness manuscript.
No, you're never.
I still don't buy it. The Myler effect's going to kick in, and you're going to be like, can we fit in a sidebar about this thing?
Because I was going to write this thing for golems to make, to make a gargoyle as one of the options for the Dark Prestige class thing. But then I was like, well, you could just be like a golem and take this feat, gives you Balor wings, and you'd be a gargoyle. So, it's not really worth writing all that stuff. And I'm pretty, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think I forgot to write anything.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure you'll figure something out.
I will not believe it until I see that it's gone to print, and even then I'm iffy.
maybe including another person in the next big book. We'll see. Savannah and other Mike have to read that guy's pitches and see what they think. But I'm pretty sure he's in. I don't know. I liked him.
Is this the dragon with the opium?
That was one of the pitches. Yes. Yeah. Because
I think we should recruit the dragon with the opium.
Well, if you can get his contact information.
He sounds like a good
one
time,
opium den in the road.
So that's moving along, and I synopsized all of my playtest sessions, all 17 of them, so that you guys do not have to read 23,000 words. Now it's just like 6,000 words.
Oh, come on!
Yeah, no, that should be really. I didn't want to kill him because like we're just starting off here, you know. And then the cool thing was Escape from Cleveland 2099 because we finally got to continue the playtest for that. So the last game, I kind of like left the players like you've been brought to the Hypermax Cyberpunk Future Prison, and like you're waiting to be processed. You meet the warden, one of them mouths off, he gets his ear shut off. You know, like it is in future prisons. And then this last game, we actually like put them into the prison proper. So they went through the sanitization process, and they had like trackers installed into their bodies, and got issued like their fatigues, and like they spent their first week like doing their menial tasks and like checking out the yard and seeing like who the gangs are and who the people are and like figuring out what to do. And I know it was awesome because like I was really worried that like I had forgotten something because that's so hard to make like I didn't realize how difficult it was going to be to make a future prison module. Mm-hmm. Guess what? It's really fucking difficult because you have all these different things that you can do as a character, and then you throw in Hyperscore and it's like, hey, here's another fucking volume of shit. So I covered all my bases, which was really cool. They still felt like they had power, even though they like for the most part their hyper abilities were negated. Two of them managed to like make the check to like fuck up the installation of the tracking module that bars the use of their superpowers. So they have to make checks when they do it, but they have like a slight access. And I think the first thing they want to do is like get to know the murder ball gangs and play them in prison murder ball.
That's gonna end well.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm really happy with it, and I don't know I keep picking challenging fucking shit to do, and it works out. But the whole time you're like, is this gonna work? Am I crazy? Is this not gonna work? This is a bad idea.
You gotta love yourself a little bit more, man.
I know. It's okay though. It's cool. And then my artist is working on a piece for that. He's taking his time, but he's really new, so I'm not rushing him. He had a rough New Year's too. Highlight of the game was definitely when the vigilante, so basically Batman got arrested, and nobody in the prison knows he's Batman. It's Bruce Wayne got arrested, right? And he's like trying to ingratiate himself with the other, prisoners, many of which he probably got to that prison, unknowns to them. And so to legitimize himself, he like throws a tantrum and like kind of beats up a laundry machine and like got his ass whooped by the guards. So
I didn't say he got his ass whooped by the laundry machine.
Well, he just punched it really hard.
I just really want to figure out how he got his ass whooped by a laundry machine though.
No, the guards whooped his ass.
No, I know, I got that, but I said it would be really funny if he got his ass whooped by the laundry machine.
No,
I mean that would have been funnier.
See, Savannah, there's an example of when you use a construct, not an undead.
That's true. Oh man, now I want to do I guess if you wanted to put an undead spin on, they have animate haunted items.
Yep.
Totally be a washing machine that just.
I wrote Necropunk. I know what you can do with horrifying body horror bullshit. Yes, you'd have like a mouth washing machine biological system. Oh god. Well, I don't want to write Necropunk right now. God damn it. I don't need to write more.
Figure out
not until after you finish the horses with snowshoes.
They're slowly figuring out that the trash compactor is not a trash compactor, and that it does something other than get rid of the trash. I mean, it gets rid of the trash, but it doesn't disintegrate the trash. They don't know what it does to the trash. I'm really hoping one of them just jumps into it. Yeah.
They should put someone in there.
I'm thinking that they're going to. I think that's the only.
It's a player. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I still here, able to be heard in the stream, by the way? Just want to make sure.
Oh, I assume so. I don't know.
Just double check here. Can I mute myself for a sec? I'm not sure if that. Sometimes it fucks it up a little bit. So our next section here is our favorite new project that's not yours.
Projects from which we cannot profit.
Yep. So, Sasha, as you got an entry on this list, did you want to go next or first?
Yeah, sure. So I was looking. So I buy a lot of third-party products for Pathfinder and stuff, obviously, and I saw that the Brawlers thing from Legendary Games was coming out, and there's a bit of like kind of an inside joke, I guess, between me and a couple other like third-party designers that I am really intense in my love of Brawlers, the class.
Fighter, but more interesting.
Yes. And to the extent that another Alex Agunas of Everyman Gaming once evidently told me that he actually included a brawler archetype in a product because I am so intense about my love of brawlers. Just without even asking if I wanted it to be in there, just like I wrote that in there because you keep getting on my case about how I need to do more brawler stuff. So Legendary Brawlers is like amazing. It's like, hey, because obviously it is, but it's all this amazing stuff with like archetypes, of course, but like also just like I feel like one of the big things that like has evolved in like the Pathfinder design thing lately is like with like the advanced weapon training and armor training for fighters of like, hey, very like modular talent things for classes that just don't really have that because they're just feats and a gimmick. And yeah, these real cool things where it's like, hey, cool. Those things that brawlers almost never use, knockout and awesome blow, cool. Here's things you can take in place of those that fill the same kind of role. And it's got this really cool like narrative through it of these like it's got like two iconic characters. And I could ramble about this for a very long time, but I'm not going to because we don't have that much time.
One thing that always amused me about what you just said was that we are now getting into archetypes for hybrids of classes from a conversion from 3.5.
The content bloat is real.
Yay! Bloat is fun.
Well, that brings up an interesting topic, though. One thing that I always tell GMs who are talking about, I don't want to allow everything in third party. I don't want everything in Pathfinder. Being a GM is as much about what you include as what you restrict. If you're playing, Conan the Barbarian, a Hyborian adventure or whatever, maybe most people are barbarians. You probably aren't tossing, I don't know, Wujen in there from 3.5. I mean, maybe you could. I don't know. But, like, how you approach things has to be different. If you're playing like a Wild West kind of Strange West game, restrict your feats. Figure out what you're allowing. I ran a one-shot that was a samurai-themed game, and not a single damn person played a samurai. But they still were flavorful about it, It's about what you restrict,
Yeah, Paz was very clear. You're not supposed to run a game with all of the books at once.
Yep. Like, Ultimate Intrigue is very interesting, but is really, really terrible for a dungeon crawl adventure.
Yeah, well, it's like if you make a very elegant party face and you toss them into a den of goblins, they're fucked.
Also, all the spellcasting rules for the occult stuff, a +10 concentration DC is not equivalent to 2 feats and 2 spell levels. And that's all the casting. Like, it's cool in its own bubble, but when you like look at the wizard, I'd be like, why would you be a wizard? Like, I'm gonna sneak up on you in the night and think real hard about killing you, and that's gonna be it.
Yeah, well, it's like the medium, like a medium who focuses on the champion spirit. Mm-hmm. They get like fleet charge at like I think level 14 or something.
And the fighter's like, why? Why can't I have this?
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh man, I make my move and then make a full attack. The thing that fighters never get to know.
Yeah. But so here's the thing. I had to redesign the fighter as the fighting man, fighting woman, whatever you want to call it, fighting person. The actual medieval term was fighting man, and it's a French term and whatever. But we rewrote it as that because holy crap, fighters are boring now. But the weird thing is, I think we're seeing this with Starfinder a bit too. We see, hey, this is the stuff we had to convert from 3.5 to make you happy. Then they went APG. Here's the stuff we wanted to write, guys. I swear. So Starfinder's like, all right, here's the stuff that we had to do to get the base out of the way, and here's your soldier, and you're this, and you're that, and here's some basic rules. Now we get to have fun, guys. Let's go make stuff. Yay! And I really can't wait to see what their APG is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
Mm-hmm. So, Mike, you got a favorite project? It looks like.
I do. There is a quaint little adventure from a new 5e publisher, not on TM's Guild, and I congratulate them for that because we're going to be talking about TM's Guild later.
I saw, yeah.
But
Again?
it's
We never talk about that. Mike hates talking about that.
It's not my exact cup of tea with the
We
layout,
know.
but most people will prefer it. It's really airy, and I don't know. It's together, and I'd check it out if you're looking for something 5e and you want something that is not super dark,
What
but
is
of
it, though?
Eastern fantasy. Oh, it's an adventure for 5e. It's like 100-some pages,
Okay.
and
You know what
bunch
levels
of
it is?
artwork. No, I don't.
5th and 6th.
Does it say on the cover? Maybe
5th and 6th level characters.
Yeah, fourth to 6th level characters.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. I checked out the preview PDF yesterday. And I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool.
I hate to be that guy, but we were talking about this before. Like sometimes we get to look at the links and that's about it. I go, oh, that's
Yeah.
pretty art. That's about all I can say. But it is pretty art too.
Yeah, and like I said, their layout is the more open stuff that people like that I hate. But they also like spend a little work on doing like page borders and stuff. So there's love in the product. Like, yeah, check it out.
My overly critical. See, I like that though. I can dig it.
Yeah, if you want like a cool Eastern fantasy adventure, and if you're like watching this chance to good, I made Miss Fakuma and it's super dark and shit for 5e. This is not that. This is a much happier kind of Eastern fantasy. So if you're tired of my grim dark,
Balance is important.
All right. Do we want to move on now?
Pathfinder and Starfinder news and speculation. I thought we'd get to announce something this week, but I guess they haven't made a show of it yet, so we shouldn't. But they are looking for Gen Con 2018 volunteers.
Get yourself
Not
a ticket, meet people, and suffer.
Yeah. Well, you actually volunteered for Paizo once, right? For Gen Con?
Oh, I volunteered for Pfizer several times. That's why I'm not in. There for a while, I think I had the most clocked hours demoing the Pathfinder adventure card game.
Yeah.
So you like doing it?
Never again. Never again.
So that's on par with
You
you guys know what GDC is?
Game Developers Convention?
Yeah, Game Developers Conference out in it's on San Diego, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been there a few times, and originally it was very like developer focused. Now it's just a bunch of marketing agencies and a few people going, "Look, our announcement," and then leaving. It's really gotten shitty. But anyway, early on, their volunteer staff was like the way you got into the industry. It was like, hey, guess what? You're gonna live like in an army barracks and run this thing. Like they actually had like sleeping quarters and shit. But you are like, and here's your tray and like your helmet, and go like eat in the helmet and wear the tray. I didn't do it. My friends all did it, and I was just like, hey, none of them got jobs. Or actually, a few of them got jobs. I don't know if it's from that, but anyway, they it was like a bonding experience for them. So I guess trial by fire, guys, have fun.
My first work in Gen Con, I literally slept on the floor of the hotel room. So you guys gotta.
Mike, I slept on the
Wrap it
floor
up.
of the hotel room with some towels. Remember? When I went there that time?
Yeah, I remember that.
Was that because there was someone in the bathtub, or because you didn't want to sleep in the bathtub, or because there wasn't a bathtub?
I don't like
I think
sleeping
there was
in
somebody in
bathtub.
the
I'm
bathtub.
6'2". I don't fit in bathtubs.
I thought Adam offered to share the mattress with you. I remember
Yeah,
I was like,
and
nobody
I don't
shares
know,
mattress
I'm weird.
with
I
me.
like
This
to
is
sleep
mine.
on,
I'm
like-
driving. Fuck you guys.
So I
But,
like to
like,
sleep my own. I don't know. I'm weird like that. I don't like. Let's say I was married for a few years. I share a bed with one person, and
Grabbing at Adam in the night.
hey
That would have
man,
been awesome. Oh God.
hey, I don't know. Beards aren't my thing. Maybe.
Scott, what are you doing? That would have been great.
Beards
be
are
my
a little
third year.
scratchy. I'll grant you that.
This will be my third year in a row volunteering,
Damn.
I think 7 or 8 slots for Gen Con.
Nice. I think I'm gonna try to make it out this year.
I'm definitely not doing it this year. There's no fucking way you can get me out there again.
Why?
Oh, last year was insane, Scott.
In a good way? I mean, I'm assuming not in a good way.
I mean, if you like to eat food, I figured out if you went to the Steak and Shake at like 2 p.m. by yourself, you could sit at the bar within about 5 minutes and get served in about 30 minutes. So like it's possible to get food in under an hour.
We managed to get into a bar. It was me and someone else. It wasn't
getting into a bar is not that bad, but getting
it wasn't you. But we went to like a restaurant, sat at the bar in the corner of the bar, and got fed in like 15-20 minutes. And we bought a bunch of drinks. And
was this last year?
No, it was the year I went with you.
Yeah, last year was 75,000 people, Scott.
Oh,
which is
you're talking about the number.
20,000 more than last time.
That's right.
It's insane. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I got paid good money to go this year. I'd have to get paid better to go again, I think.
Right. Well, at the very least, it's not like it's going to be the 50th next year.
Yeah.
I wonder how their attendance is going to look. Like, is it going to be like people who went are like, I should go again next year, or like me and a lot of the people I usually go with are like, no, like I went to the 50th, it's fine. I'm just not going to go for a bit.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think it's going to...
Go ahead. The main things I remember from Gen Con 50 was we were having a big meal thing with a bunch of Studio 7 Seraphs people, and I forgot who Mike was for a solid minute and a half. I completely did not recognize him, despite the fact that I tried to meet up with him for a solid half hour at Origins a month prior.
Yeah, I remember that. That's right. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, I know who you are, but I forget your name.
Yeah, I'm really subdued at cons because I don't like to eat more than like once a day when I'm really active, which is not great if you catch me before the meal.
Although to be fair, I think that was like after jamming 5 slots in 2 days of release weekend, so I think I was also half asleep.
Yeah.
I remember. I like to do at Gen Con. I like to go to like. Okay, so I normally, like I said, I did Phoenix Comic Con for years, and I worked every con I went to. I worked with JLAZ. I did a bunch of other things, and all I would do, I would demo things, I would run things. I go to Gen Con, and I just don't do shit. I walk to every single booth that is demoing something, and I play their game.
Oh, I got to go one year and just got to do seminars. It was fucking excellent.
Let's say, yeah, because remember, because the first time I went, I just ended up going like by accident. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I have time. That's what happened with them. Went with you too. It's just like, oh yeah, cool, whatever. So I just kind of wandered the floor for 3 days, and I just like zigzagged back and forth, and like went to every single person. Some people twice or 3 times. Talked with every single artist. Went to every single store, and like, it was cool. I don't know if I needed 3 days to do it, but it was fun. And I met up with a lot of people. Ate way too much food. Paid way too much money, but had a great time.
Yeah.
I don't know what I like. My main purpose for going to cons was networking, and like pretty sure everybody knows me, and I know them at this point.
Yeah,
like
I would hope so.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's always new
people I don't
showing
know,
up, but, like,
which is good.
Maybe wait a while for the roster to shift around or something.
Mike, we need to purge the older ranks so we may have new blood. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, like,
This escalated quickly, Mike.
I'd be surprised if somebody was like, I can't believe I don't know you, Mike. Like, I would be genuinely surprised.
I told you I ran into Jeff Grubb and had no idea who he was, right?
Do what?
I'll be the new blood.
Yeah.
So I told you I met Jeff Grubb, and I had no idea who he was for like the first 5 minutes I was talking to him.
Yeah.
And I just was like, oh yeah, cool. I was just like, oh, cool old dude. He knows what he's talking about. I like this guy. He's really pleasant, really nice to talk to. And then as I'm walking away, I see his name tag. I'm like, shit, he read all those books I like. All that shit I like. Oh, he worked on Guild Wars. Thanks. That's great. It was Guild Wars 2? It was Guild Wars 2. Sorry, my dog is having I would say a heart attack, but a bark attack.
A bark attack.
A bork
attack.
Like He's bork.
Ooh.
So do we want to move on to the next one?
Yeah. D&D 5e news and speculation.
All right, I'm speculating on some 5e.
There's a lot of fun stuff this week. They've hired a new D&D designer, Kate Welch from Acquisitions Incorporated. So congratulations, Kate.
That's a game. That's a D&D like podcast, right?
Yeah, it's the one associated with Penny Arcade. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
I like her picture with the elf ears, by the way.
So.
Yes.
He's adorable.
But that
also, I like the screenshot from the monk character creation, and this very unassuming little old lady. Unassuming little old ladies are my favorite kind of monks. They're the best.
Dude, I mean, you Mike, I know you have seen. I goddamn hope you've seen or was it
You're not thinking Kung Pao Under the Fist, which is terrible. You're thinking of Hong Kong Phooey?
No, the one with the
cartoon?
Axe Gang.
Yeah, the one with the Axe Gang. When they called
Was it
Kung
Hong
Fu
Kong Phooey?
Hustle. Kung Fu Hustle.
Yeah, I was
Kung
gonna
Fu
say
Hustle,
Hong Kong
yeah.
Phooey was
Let's say
the
that's my
dog.
favorite old lady monk.
Oh no, I like the Miyazaki old lady monks, like the ones who like look like they're just like bags of fucking leather.
I feel like I've been playing monks wrong.
There's no wrong way to play a monk.
Yeah.
I played a monk
I'm spoiled because in my Skulls and Shackles game there is an old lady halfling with a peg leg who is a monk.
That's fantastic.
I played a monk
because her grandchildren are grown up, so she's gone off to have adventures now that they're fine, and she gives everyone like hard candies and stuff.
I need a healing potion. Here, have a licorice.
Yeah, pretty much. And then she just like split kicks like pirate skeletons or something. Like, it's fantastic.
I had a monk at one point.
Splits. She's got much smaller ligaments.
Yep. I had a monk
That's
at one
fair.
point who was a GMPC, but I built him for the game because they needed someone because people were always dropping and coming and whatever. So if he was the space filler, or he was oddly silent when they weren't there. But I gave him exotic weapon proficiency in many different things. So he had like with him, he was a weapons specialist monk, the one who could use the weapons in it for his flurries. So he had nunchucks was his specialty, and he was really good at nunchucks. But he had like 20 different weapons, he had, like Sais and Kurosagama, and like just every weapon I could think of, like fans, and I was proficient in all of them. And I was just running around like, now let me tell you about the story about. And every time he would someone would be like, all right, do you have a whatever? Like, just, yes, this is the sword. And he'd just go on this legend about this sword that he had. And he would just go, and he goes on and on and on in the background where everyone's talking about everything else.
Oh,
so he would just be off being like, this Sai, yes, it slew the emperor of the 18th demon realm. Now I give to you its twin, the one who slew the seraphim from the highest point of, and everyone just be like, shut up. And you're like, no, I must tell its tale before we fight. And they're just like, shut up, nunchucks back. Okay, we're done.
I'm stealing that, by the way.
Yeah, accurate.
So other than Kate Welch, there's that whole stock prediction site that says Wizards is gearing up to sell, or Hasbro's gearing up to sell Wizards a little bit.
I was gonna say it's a good lead-in because like picking a high-profile person like somebody on Acquisitions Incorporated is a great way to like keep strengthening their brand with the new hire.
Well, we've been talking about it since the show started, pretty much, that we think that they're basically fattening up the brand and kind of dumbing down the D&D bit and going, look, it's a multimedia brand. It's really good. It can be in movies and board games and collectible toys and fucking, I don't know, scarves. You know what I mean?
So this stock prediction
for D&D scarf
basically says that they're trying to like drive up the value of WotC to its zenith and then sell it in 2021 to somebody.
So what that will mean is what they're probably looking at is when they recognize depreciation as well.
That's when the movie is supposed to release, if you recall.
Yep.
Is in July of 2021.
So
I'm
that's
scared.
going to be, as long as it's a legit, well-made movie and not Damon Wayans running around in a terrible plot, it will be the height of the
we had an episode about that, Mike.
As a brand, so.
One thing that is interesting to note is when they recognize depreciation and liabilities, there's different ways you can do it. I'll spare you the legal, the financial jargon, but basically, when you recognize losses and when you treat things as having lost value, there's different ways you can recognize it. And when you do that, can drive up your stock price. Because if you're like, hey, look, we this year we did fine, so we're gonna recognize all of our shit. So look, our stock just didn't go up or down. But then the next year, hey, look, we basically are showing no losses. Bam. So, let's buy that, is what they're trying to do with it. So I would be interested to see how their depreciation schedule set up nowadays.
I don't know. I'd like to see what their, just their production schedule, but like the larger, broader, what Perkins has like cooked up in the month he's been the creative director, basically. So like not just like what's up with the comic, what's up with the video games, what's up with everything under the umbrella.
What's the larger play?
Who do you guys think will be up for buying it? I'm thinking like I would like it to be Fantasy Flight, and I mentioned this in the RPG Net chat room yesterday, and people were not about that.
Yeah, I'm not about that.
I think they do great.
I think they do okay. I'm just here. I'd rather them than a lot of.
Okay, first of all, WotC's not going to give it to Paizo.
No,
because Paizo's not going to have the money. B, because I'm pretty sure they're still like licking their wounds from that. So like that takes out. Who else could get it? That is an RPG company. Games Workshop isn't an RPG company. They're a miniatures company.
No, I understand, but I'm saying...
Yeah, but Hasbro's not an RPG company, so...
They were thinking a video game company would pick it up. Or maybe Disney is what a lot of I think Owen's thread. I don't think
Disney's going acquisition heavy, but they're doing...
No, I think it's too much work for Disney. I don't...
No, it's not
they're not about it. Yeah.
I mean, Disney just took on Star Wars.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, no, they bought Marvel and Star Wars. They're on an acquisition binge. I know, but they're not going to be looking for big acquisitions. Not, I hate to say it, small acquisitions.
And if it's WotC, I don't know if it's just small because it's not just D&D, man. It's Magic the Gathering. It's Pokemon.
The fact that they're letting go of Magic the Gathering is interesting.
Wait, are they?
No. It would be the WotC buyout.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's everything
WotC's got. Yeah. So it wouldn't be small potatoes, I don't think.
No. Well, no, it's not small potatoes, but when you compare WotC to Lucasfilms and Marvel, there's a bit of a difference.
Sure.
So I'm saying they're buying on that tier. They're actually rumored to be.
I'm wondering if it's going to be some weird fucking thing like THQ comes out of nowhere and is like, "Hey, we got WotC now."
I mean, I'm sure any of knowing the developer brains that work at those companies. Yeah.
More realistically, I think it would be like a company already working on D&D brand stuff, like Beamdog or something like that.
Well, so I think, remember though, that a lot of them have to be the producer, not the developer. Because the producer will buy it, the developer probably won't. Because developer absorbing that kind of liability is not their MO. That's not how they operate.
It'd be interesting if it was like a bookstore or something like a distributor. Like Barnes & Noble was like, maybe to save our business, we'll get WotC. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where it goes because I can't.
Like Diamond?
I don't know where the fuck it would go.
Like Diamond?
Diamond, maybe? Oh, I guess I hadn't thought about the card companies.
Yeah.
Or like the wholesale distributors.
Yeah.
I was thinking retailer. Yeah, maybe. Alliance could probably afford it.
But I mean, that would be a
huge drastic change for them.
Yeah, it'd be a huge shift in their business model.
That's why I was suggesting Barnes & Noble because that's a
stuff, Mike.
Sure. Yeah.
Sorry, we got in the weeds there, guys.
Also, this week I got.
Thank you, Savannah.
Andreas Walters posted a thing about like a price floor or on the DMs Guild, and it generated a lot of other discussion. I ended up talking to this one dude who's like the moderator of the D&D 5e group, and was like in the Adventurers League and a big deal, and he gets like I don't know almost $1,000 a month on Patreon for 5e stuff.
Oh, cool.
And I don't think he realized he gives up ownership of everything he puts on DM's Guild. I really honestly think that only during this discussion did he realize that like he doesn't own that content. And I'm wondering how many people are in that boat.
I feel like it's more than not.
Yeah.
Sasha, you seem like you had a revelation during that conversation there.
Yeah.
Were you aware of that beforehand?
Me?
Yeah.
I was moderately aware of it. I knew that it was a thing. I didn't know the extent of it. I had read the thread and I'm like, this goes a lot deeper than I knew it went fairly deep, but I was like, yeah, I now am much more aware of like my own instinctual dread of DM's Guild.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was an accurate instinctual dread. I suppose most dread is not good, but
No, dread is self-preservation. I can dig it.
And I want to be clear, Sam yelled at me. You don't actually give up ownership. You just give up all rights of ownership, essentially.
Yes.
Right. So it's all.
I'm not 100% sure what the difference is, frankly. Like, I'm sure there probably is one.
Yeah. It's legally you can still claim you're the owner. It's the difference.
So here's the thing.
So you could say, "Oh, I wrote that thing. I just can't benefit from it in."
Well, no. What it is, it's like Mike. They would have to credit you, but they have movie rights to it.
and you can't ever fully remove it from the IP. You can stop selling a product, but that product's content remains part of the intellectual property of DM's Guild. And you can't sell it anywhere else either. Like, once it goes up there, that's the only place it can ever go, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know. I was just like surprised because, like,
honestly, I think
you think this guy would be well informed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of all the people, this wasn't some like rookie I was talking to. He runs the 5e Facebook group and is in the Adventures League and all this shit. Like, you'd think that this guy would know. And yeah,
You were saying, Sasha?
Staggering.
No, I was just agreeing and being like, yeah, it's concerning.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
concerning is
the whole thing seems sketch for ages to me.
The propagation of the business model is what concerns me. And it's not so like, okay, WotC is in this position where they had to do something because of the 3.0 SRD takes all of their IP, the game, the terminology used for the game's mechanics, the stuff that you can actually copyright, and they essentially made Creative Commons, right? So when 5e came out, that's essentially Creative Commons, man. So 5e comes out, and we're all like, what the fuck do we do? Is there a compatibility license? And then Frog Out Games, a bunch of lawyers, is like, doesn't really matter if there's one. We're just not going to use this stuff we know we can't use. And that's what's become this ancillary third-party market for 5e that I live in. And then they created the DM's Guild and all this other shit. So they have to have some kind of response, right? Paizo's response is to be smart and inclusive and promote third-party publishers. 5e's Hasbro's response has been Russian KGB tactics. So when and Money Cook Games or Woan RPG and Russ Morrissey or what's the other one? World of Darkness and whoever the fuck owns World of Darkness now. When they make their own little markets like this.
Who does, Sasha?
Onyx Path, I think. Onyx Path. Kind of.
Yeah.
So they can set up this market, and now whenever they release a new edition, they can abandon it and just forget about it and never have anything to do with it again because they're not stuck in this legal quagmire that the SRD from 3.0 D&D leaves Dungeons & Dragons in perpetuity until they change all of the game terminology, which is something you can't do without making it not Dungeons & Dragons.
So
Truth.
That one of the things, the reason I was kind of like, on the Creative Commons thing, it's closer what's called a Creative Commons share-alike attribution, is what it's closer to.
CC 3.0, which is the most common Creative Commons license.
Depends.
Okay.
Sorry, I wrote papers on this, man.
Creative Commons license, Scott?
So one of the things that it specifically states is that it's a referential one. It's not a... So you still own your thing. You're not releasing it to Creative Commons. I could write about...
What's the most common Creative Commons license?
CC0, CC...
Really? That's the one you see the most often, CC0.
CC0 or CC... Well, it depends what site you go to. CC0 and CC attribution.
I think sites. Because I've only, I think, with maybe a dozen exceptions, seen CC 3.0.
Let's say attribution's most common. But
yes, I know.
Let's say you can't. But
that's why I just
think attribution. This is attribution share alike, which is different.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the specific nuances of my metaphor. Yes. Other RPG news. More on Wizards. So now they have they want to do background checks for their volunteers, which is crazy on so many levels. Okay,
yeah,
Scott,
I was gonna say, which seems really invasive and also kind of creepy.
Who's doing the background checks, bro?
Let's say it depends. Okay, hey. Are you saying the who watches the Watchmen argument here, Mike?
And like how many creepy, fucked up Gamergate dudes are there, and how many women want to give all of their personal information to these people because they work at the game store? So here's a question: before you jump on the before you get on are they saying that that's who's doing the background checks? I mean, I'm pretty sure they're I'm pretty sure that it's supposed to be by the game store members because they're the members of the network. They're the people who take all the information and process it.
It says, to protect players of all ages to the extent permitted by applicable law, you agree to conduct background checks to meet your obligation on your staff as well as those you engage with that interact with the public.
Yeah.
So it is implying that they are the ones conducting the background checks.
And there's nobody...
employees who, in my experience as someone who goes to a lot of game stores, not always, but have a tendency towards that description.
It's just it's like when the government gave the already violent police forces of America a whole bunch of extra weapons. It's like, this is gonna make you safer. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Oh gosh, what was it? Like,
I'm sure
in order for other people to be safer, you don't need to be more dangerous.
So, guys, do you guys know what the legal definition of a background check is? It is carried out by a legally authorized agency. There are background checking agencies. If they're doing it through their own thing, that is not a legal background check. So if they're doing that, that is invasive and creepy as shit. If they're doing it the other way, if they're carrying out actual legal background checks, this is a good thing. That I'm totally fine with. But if they're going, oh yeah, creepy Gamergate guy used to do it, that's like, creepy, no kidding.
Like, you hire people to do background checks. Like, what's that going to cost them?
It's going to cost them a lot.
And how do you imagine the background check going without that information passing through the hands of the game store employees that are meant to put it into the Wizard Play system?
That's literally the whole point of like confidentiality on a background agreement or background check. You go through it every time you go to a new place of employment.
Right, and the people who are employed there, you have see your address and your name and confirm it's the same as your faxed or scanned driver's license,
which you have to give them anyway if you're volunteering.
Do you have to give them your driver's license for volunteering?
I don't know. Let's say it comes down to that. Let's say, depending on how it's implemented, it could be either very creepy or very positive. I say just getting on this as a one-sided thing, I don't think so.
I don't know. I feel like it's a bit too optimistic to expect it to be positive. I want it to be, and I'm not saying it can't be, but considering prior events, I'm leaning towards creepy.
Yes, unfortunately, I am inclined to agree with that.
Yeah.
And as someone who is in the process, very deep in the process of becoming an official like Pathfinder Society volunteer, I've never shown anyone my photo ID. In the process of it, I've had to put in like my information, but I've never I do not believe anyone in the like system has like my physical address, and so like the background check part of it is not universal with that whole volunteer part of it, and the background check is like from my experience, it might be in higher up echelons, but like the volunteering with that field of it, it's obviously different for different companies, but yeah, it's a thing. And I'm very wording this very poorly, but like the background checks are something that I might be good, but again, with my personal inclination towards absurdism and strange mix of realism, pessimism, and optimism that makes very little sense, I'm inclined to, oh God, what is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it uncomfortable at best. If they want to have background checks for their volunteers, why on earth are they farming it out to game stores? This is the future. How hard would it be to create an automated system that your game store can check your name and see that you have been background checked by people who will never interact with you, who like work in the WotC building? You can have one guy whose job that's to do.
But
probably
Mike,
toss it on
I'm saying, Mike, we don't have information how it's carried out. It could be that way.
That's what I'm saying. And they could all use different background services. Some of them could use scummy ones. It's a game store, so I don't think badly of game store owners. I don't think they're the most organized people in the world. So I don't think that information is going to be very carefully protected. Like, I could definitely see creepy people doing creepy things to get that information and stalking people and stuff. Like, yeah.
On a better note, since we don't have all of our information and can't resolve that,
exactly.
Scott, you want to talk about Runaways, and I really want to read the comic, so you should talk about Runaways.
So Brian K. Vaughan's comic is like the seminal, like one of the most seminal experiences in comics for me. The show doesn't live up to it.
I mean, I was sort of worried about that.
It's like the comics are 12 out of 10, and the TV show is like a solid 8. It's not a bad show. but basically the first 6 volumes, you don't even get to that point by the end of the first season. And you hit your stride at the end of those, kind of like the episode issue 4 or 5 is like, I think they got through about halfway through the first 6 volumes, which are they're not long either. The premise is basically there's a bunch of stock villain tropes, and they're all couples. So there's like a wizard family, an evil alien family, a time travel,
a mad science family.
Yeah, stuff like that. And
mafia family.
Yep, and all their kids end up being. They're all in some kind of cult together, and their kids are all like hang out, but they're normal high school kids, and they have no idea about their parents. And they realize, oh crap, our parents are supervillains at one point, and do some weird shit, and they figure out their powers and they run away. Hey, they're called the Runaways, and they live on their own on the street and like care for each other and help each other out emotionally, mentally, whatever. And like it's a really positive experience, and they really go through some cool shit. And one of the best parts of it is it's Brian K. Vaughan, so he does all this weird stuff. So there's like, I think Giborim are these like things that the cult prays to, and they're like giant, like bizarre looking, very crazy, like multi-faced, like space alien gods. I don't know how to describe them. And there's like a raptor named Old Lace who just chills with him all the time, and is like a little puppy. And there's like. Yo. And all the characters are like, they could have been so one note, but they grow over time. And characters get killed off faster than in Game of Thrones, dude.
Yeah, see, that's why I didn't want to watch it, and that's why I'm hesitant about reading it, because I read a synopsis of like the storyline. I'm like, but I don't want this person to die.
But the thing is, though, they kind of handle it in a way more mature way than like other series do. It's not like, then the Clone Saga! And then it's like, dude, I miss not Billie Jean is not my lover and is not a character in the series, but man, I miss Billie Jean. I remember when she used to do this. And then like when they go to fight, they're like writers and writers later, they're like, Billie Jean, man, still haunts me at night. Like it's a really positive take on stuff, and like the interaction between them and the Punisher is the best interaction with any character in the Punisher.
Nice.
Molly Hayes, who in the show is like 3 years younger than them, so she's like 12 and they're like, I don't know, 15 or 16 or whatever in the show. But in the comic, she's supposed to be like 5 or like 7 or something. But she's a mutant with like Hulk level strength or whatever. And Punisher like is like sneaks up on him, and she just gut punches him and like cracks ribs and everything. And she's like, and everyone's like hugging her. And she's like, Molly, it's okay. She's like, he was wearing a super suit. I thought he had superpowers.
The Punisher. I think we addressed that in whenever we talked about the Punisher series.
Yeah, actually. But anyway, yeah. So it's like the things I missed about it has really snappy writing. It has really like twisted plot, I guess I'll say, in a good way, very like dense, very Gaiman-esque almost. And it kind of felt like that was lacking. They really put a focus on the parents for some reason. But anyway, the show doesn't measure up, but it has good. The ending, if they go forward with it and they kind of let the parents drop, which I know they won't, it'll be a worthy companion. Not worthy of being, equal, but worthy of the name at least. The final scene was good.
Okay.
Black Lightning came out this week too, right?
Yeah, I know it was going to. I'm not sure of the day.
I watched it. I was cool with it. I liked it.
I can't get past the costume, dude. I'm sorry, because around where I go to work, which is not right near Times Square, there's a big billboard, and he's on it with that LED suit, and it's the most god awful pose they have him in, and it's just like it kills me, man. I'm just like, I can't do it.
Yeah, apparently it came out the 16th.
Yeah, I thought it came out this week. I saw it. Yeah.
So, Mike, is it good?
Yeah, I remember it felt a lot like Arrow. That's sort of what had me a little confused. But yeah.
Is it as like ridiculously angsty as Arrow? Because Arrow felt like Hamlet but Batman.
Exactly.
The angst feels more justified.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's not.
It's not like, I am a rich white man. My life is paid.
Yeah, in the first 10 minutes, he gets pulled over by a cop and mistreated. Yeah.
Oh, so it's like Arrow, but for Luke Cage. Got it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll be watching the rest of it.
I might give it a watch then.
Nice.
So,
Kickstarters?
Kickstarter time, yeah.
One I have is Dice Dungeons, which it's definitely a simplistic premise, and it's not like it's overselling itself per se. The idea is that like, oh, you want to like run a scenario, but you don't want to.
Guys? Shit.
Document, and you
Wait.
are like, here, this is what happens.
So, Ben, can you repeat what you just said, that little intro, because I think my internet spiked or something.
No. Anyway, you roll a d20. It gives you a scenario to run. You don't have to worry about prepping.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is cool. But more importantly, it made me want to like write a thing where instead of just rolling a d20 and then you get that scenario, like roll a d20. It's like, oh, this takes place in a jungle and there are dragons. Like you have to roll for like multiple aspects.
Some Mad Libs, guys.
Which this book provides the scenarios and like some plot hooks and stuff. And obviously a book that made you roll for more things couldn't possibly cover that amount of randomness.
Yeah.
But I feel like it'd be an interesting series of tables. So that's my spiel on it.
That was the best thing about the Authority RPG. It's in the back. It had this amazing random character generator. It was just decadent. Oh.
Delicious. Yeah. But red shirts, I see.
Yeah, we talked about red shirts before. They're back. It's a comedic, sort of like Star Trek spoofy Starfinder RPG. Now Adventure Path is what they're shooting for. And if you enjoy absurdity and Starfinder, it should be right up your office. Or I'm sorry, right up your alley. The tagline for it is "The Office meets Survivor in space." So.
Fair. So it is not right up your office,
no,
which sounds like an interesting euphemism. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I spanked the monkey. It went right up my office. I don't know what to tell you.
Hey, we're bringing it full circle. It's a thing.
It was punch the monkey.
Punch the monkey.
Punch the monkey right up your office. Got it.
Yep. No, I feel like spank the monkey is already an established.
It is an
established one. That's why
so
I get
punch
confused.
the monkey is different but similar.
Yes.
And Scott, you had Lingotopia.
Yeah, so Lingotopia is this really cool. Like, it was this guy making this game. It's about you end up as a non-native speaker to an island of weird creatures who in a city who all speak a different language, and you set whatever language it is. It's like Spanish or German or whatever, and you have to try to figure out words through context clues, and then once you solve a question about that word, it appears as a translated words in the future. So eventually, as you play through the game, you can build up your entire language, like linguistic skills of that language. So if he goes, hey, can you, like, the person will say, squiggly borp jop forp, and you're like, what the hell's a forp? And it shows a picture of them holding an apple. You go, oh, an apple. And you go get them an apple, and they go, oh, yes, thank you. And then now in the future, they go, look, Sybil morph apple door 5, and you're like, oh, that 5. Okay, I need 5 apples for the. Oh, that's a 5, and that's for a pie. Okay, cool. And then you start constructing language skills based on the experience of immersing yourself in a culture that is linguistically different than your own. The guy's trying to expand the game and expand the number of languages with his Kickstarter. I think it's a really interesting thing. One of my areas of study was educational games. The pedagogy behind that whole experience is exactly how games can be used as an educational tool. Just that interactive learning element raises retention rate of information, and that's very important when acquiring language skills. It just gives it's reading comprehension built right into the game.
That makes sense.
Good find. I sent it to Steph because she wants to learn Japanese. So
is Japanese one of the languages that's included right now?
It's supposed to be, I think. Yeah.
Let's see. Because I know it was. Oh, I already have it open, huh?
Yeah, I was just looking at it. I thought I saw Japanese on there.
Entirely possible. Yep, full version: Arabic, Mandarin, Russian, Japanese, Spanish, German, and French.
I want them to do Esperanto. They should do Esperanto.
Oh, there's this language. What's it called? It's like it's not Esperanto, but it's like Europronto or something like that.
I've heard of that. I think we saw the same post.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because it's like it shoves a bunch of like related languages together. So it's like Spanish, German, and English, I believe, and there's probably something else, but it's that, and it ends up being like, if you read any of those languages, you can read the sentence and comprehend it. It's very cool. Like there's a post on it. I just thought it was very interesting to read it. It was meant as like a spoof language, but it works really well.
Yeah.
I need to get on learning Pigeon.
I always want to learn Mandarin because there's a lot of Chinese business out there.
Oof.
I told you guys I have a lot of Chinese ni hao, but like I have a lot of fucking Chinese fans for some reason.
Yes,
cool. I'm really
you
cool
mentioned
for it.
that.
So man, I want to learn Chinese and go right to third party. Be the only guy writing third party in Chinese.
Ni hao.
Yeah.
Ni hao. If you just say ni hao, you're not saying
I understand the tonal inflections of Chinese. Thank
you. That's what makes it so hard. If you could just say a fucking word, I'd know Chinese, but it's not. You have to say the word in like 10 pitches. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
5 pitches, but like you got to make some up. It's fucked up. It's no good.
When I was
that's not fair. That's not fair. It's just it's too much work for me to learn.
When I was 19,
I suppose that's probably how like Beverly feels similar about English.
Sorry,
Like
Sasha.
it's not the same kind of difficult, but
English, yeah. More people speak
we
English
did
in
talk
China
about
than
shit in the blender and call
there
it
are
English.
English people.
Sorry, Sasha was trying
when I was 19, I tried to take a Spanish 1 course. I, for various reasons, I stopped taking it. Mainly because I graduated from the program I was in, but the defining experience was when we were asking, the very basically, how are you? And I wanted to show how great I was at Spanish. So I thought I knew how to say excellent in Spanish. Spoiler, it's excelente. So I forgot that, and I said I was caliente, which means spicy.
Yep.
And the teacher basically, I didn't know it was possible to laugh at a student in a way that was polite, and he was trying to make it seem like she was very clearly was very amused, but like stifling this laugh of just like, if I laugh at this student, I'm going to lose my job.
It reminds me in my Spanish class in high school, we were supposed to be talking about what we liked on pizza. And so what this person meant to say was, I like olives or something, which is aceitunas, I believe. But what she said that she wanted was calcetines, which are socks.
Good. Amazing. Good.
So, I think this brings us to the
I have
guest
to go
segment.
get my bird wife. I'll be right back.
Good luck.
So, Sasha, what is it that you want to talk about this on tonight's show? Sitting back far in your chair. That's a topic right there.
Exactly. That is my
Chair
face.
leaning.
That is the face I make when I have remembered every 10 minutes for the past hour and a half that I need to come up with a topic. I try to stifle the like, oh God, I need a topic.
Well, what's on your mind lately?
Relating to RPGs, specifically, honestly, just Gen Con and how it's going to be interesting. Because I've GM'd like enough games the past 2 years to get a hotel room, and I'm trying to do that again this year with Paizo, which is interesting. And there's like the idea of like how the volunteer process works with Paizo, and I mean, I love a lot of companies. I'm a diehard Paizo fangirl, as anyone who has ever spent 5 minutes with me can tell you. But like just the idea of like their volunteer process and how they've refined it over time, and how I'm kind of trying to become like a venture officer thing, which technically I should have been a month ago, but I submitted the paperwork for that a month ago. It's been a while. I need to get on their case again. But the idea of like the volunteer process in RPGs and how it's how I'm still very new to the industry and RPG in general. Like my first RPG was 3.5 and I graduated to Pathfinder like 2 months later. Like I first played an RPG in like 2013.
Oh, jeez.
It's kind of the idea of like how I'm so new to the industry and I'm trying to learn so much in such a short span of time, and rambling about volunteering and being new to the industry and I guess how to start in the industry, I guess would be a very good way to sum that up. And I mean, to be fair, I very much dove in head first, given that like I love third party stuff, and I was directed to Scott after I made a forum on the Paizo boards, being like, how do I start writing third party?
See, first off, you get a head injury. That's how you start writing third party.
Yes.
It must be self-inflicted.
Masochism.
You should not seek medical attention. You should just spill that blood out onto a page, and that's how you do it. No,
I mean, sounds legit to me. That's how you start the summoning ritual, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, the first thing I got published by Scott was the first actual not terrible what the fuck am I doing thing. What the hell am I doing thing I got published by Scott was called The Torturer, so that's not entirely inaccurate.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, a lot of it is just... I did a big post about this recently, but it's basically, look, there was a comment on a third-party blog, and it basically just... or a Facebook group, and someone was asking about, like, hey, was some developer asking, hey, how do you feel about third-party products in your game? And one person's like, I don't pay for homebrew. And I know it was a troll, but, I was kind of like, I mean, it stuck with me for a month, and it kind of rattled around my brain, and I was like, look, everybody starts somewhere, though. And there's a very weird, blurry line between high-quality third-party stuff and low-quality first-party stuff. Because, and let me tell you, I personally have published terrible things. I have published really nice things. I have published things I have buried and I will never tell you about, because looking at the Kinslayer base class is just a nightmare. But I don't even think you have that one, Sasha.
I don't, and I have a lot of your old stuff.
It's my first one, I know. But the idea is like, where that line is very blurry, and you kind of have to keep doing your thing until you get to that level. It's the same with art, same with writing. I was going on about how fanfics. I mean, how many people... Neil Gaiman wrote Sherlock Holmes fanfic. I mean, love it or hate it. What's her name? Wrote not Stephanie Meyer? Who wrote 50 Shades? The 50 Shades lady wrote 50 Shades.
E.L. Gray?
Yeah,
no, E.L. James, not Gray.
Yep.
E.L. James.
But yeah, anyway, we had professionally published.
Well, more importantly, like Milton wrote Bible fan fiction.
Yep.
Like fan fiction is baked into our culture.
Mm-hmm.
There's also I saw an interesting post relating to that a while ago, but like the evolution of fan fiction in a legal sense, and how 50 Shades becoming popular when it originated as like fan fiction, and the fact that Stephanie Meyer didn't pursue legal action for it is like revolutionary for the fan fiction scene. Because like the reason why, like, for when I first started getting into fandom is I Am a Wee Lass was when I was like like late aughts, early new 10s, and it was like, oh, and I just accepted that there was like always these sort of every fan fiction ever no matter where you were, was I do not own these characters. And then like literally years later, like in the past few months, I saw the post that like on Tumblr of like where someone was like questioning that, and it's like, and this goes
like even if you did put that sort of like fan fiction at one point in time could get you into hella trouble. Like Anne Rice was actually really infamous for being really shitty to fan fiction people
for a long time.
And
Star Trek was too,
and it's fascinating.
So one thing that's interesting is
like fascinating how it's evolved.
So one thing I'm always big on is the use of public domain. So one of the things with it is when you create something and it becomes bigger than the sum of its parts, when it becomes like, here, I got a question. What color are Batman's gloves?
Deep midnight blue.
Blue, black, whatever. If it's movies, it's black. It's comics, it's blue. No,
I always picture gray, but
they're purple or pink. That's the original Batman right there.
Yeah.
He has gloves that start right here, and they're like pink gloves. I'm not even kidding. Go look it up. Go look up Batman issue 1. Batman has grown through a collection of writers, through a collection of not publishers, technically publishers because they're different names, but he's grown over the years.
It started off as the Shadow fanfic, basically.
Pretty much.
Used lines from the radio show in the comics and hoped no one would notice.
I think the better
it's more like
example would be
plagiarized fanfic.
Timothy Zahn, whose fan fiction for Star Wars became Star Wars canon for a long time. Like the Boba Fett story in the Sarlacc pit, that shit was fan fiction that became canon.
That's cool.
Yeah, like
what's his name?
And then Timothy Zahn also wrote all the other good books for Star Wars. FYI, all the Thrawn shit. I'm pretty sure that was on. Yeah.
Yep, that was him.
Every single one.
What's his name? What's his name? Ender's Game dude. Orson Scott Card. Hate him, love him. Not many people love him these days. I tolerate him. I think I understand him. I don't agree with him, but I understand him. He wrote biblical fanfic like Milton, but he also did Star Trek, I believe it was. And then was like, my universe is what's his name? John Sagari, the dude who did Old Man's War. He did Star Wars fanfic for a while, and then was like, this is not fanfic. What are you talking about? This is my own universe. These are not Mandalorians. They're different.
Definitely different.
Mm-hmm. Old Man's War, by the way, is fantastic if you haven't read it.
For other advice, I would say that you should write something every single day, write or design something, even if it's just like a paragraph. You know, it's like basketball. If you don't play every day, you're going to lose your accuracy on the shots and stuff.
So
I'm trying to get into that.
My thing I do is every day you'll see. I don't know if you guys can see all my wonderful messages. I send messages to myself, and those are all my design notes. And then I put them in a big document if they are at least coherent. They are not always coherent. They end up... Sasha, you have access to it. You have access to my workspace docs. I have 2 docs that are bullet point lists of... One's, 200 pages or something? And the other one's
you closed it when it reached exactly 200 pages, I think.
Yeah, I stopped the first one at 200 pages because I couldn't manage it anymore, and the second one's at 60-something. I think I'll break into a third when I hit 75 or 100 on that one because it's getting a little bulky right now anyway. But yeah, keep writing every day and write really dumb things. Because I've written things that literally recently I pulled up something from 2015 that I wrote and went, oh yeah, that's how we can do this. And I gave the implementation to Ian and he went, oh shit, that worked.
I'd say just never throw anything away.
No, never.
Yeah, don't ever throw anything away.
Keep reworking it.
Neither do I.
Yeah, if it's no good now, it doesn't mean it won't be no good for something later.
Yep.
Another juncture.
That's fair.
Most of
design recycling.
But say most of the shit I didn't throw away ended up in Gonzo too.
And you're mostly worried about writing, right? Like you don't want to make your own PDFs or anything. You just want to write them.
I learned InDesign in high school, the basics of InDesign, and I want to be able to publish. I like publishing. I just am not still very financially dependent on my family, and I can barely afford to eat some days. So a InDesign subscription is not exactly.
Sure. I mean, there's ways you can do
Sasha,
it.
Are you a student?
Open Office and stuff, but
I am not a student, so
can
that
you
makes it.
qualify as a student in any way, shape, or form?
What?
Can you qualify as a student of anything in any way, shape, or form? Because you can send that information over to Amazon. They'll give you, or not Amazon, Adobe, and they'll give you a huge discount.
Honestly, I do not think so.
Okay.
Fairly certain I cannot, which is, I have looked into that, and I'm like, no, unfortunately, I am not.
Mike, you were saying something about Open Office?
If it's under 20 pages, you can use MS Word or Open Office. Open Office has its own design program. But you could use the MS Word or the Open Office doc program and make a PDF of, not huge, and you can't send it as a print interior file. But if you only want to make a digital thing, you could totally just use MS Word.
Those were my first PDFs were done in Open Office. They're LibreOffice, right? Now?
I don't know.
They are, yeah.
Yeah. I practically only ever use Google Docs to write anything.
Yeah, me too.
Same.
So here's something that bothers me.
If you're writing, then pitch a lot. Pitch all the time. Talk to publishers frequently. Email them on a monthly basis if you want to work for them.
I want to shoot myself in the foot here. Zenith Games or whatever posted in the third party thing, looking for like submissions, and was like, "Hey, send us anything you haven't finished but is like in a near finished state." And I'm like, "Oh, you shouldn't have said that." I think I sent him like 8 documents. I sent him like 8 things, and I followed up with him today, and I'm like, "Look, I know you got an avalanche of things, but I'm just following up." And they're like, "Look, man, we got a lot. I'm interested in this stuff, but give me a few days." I'm like, "All right." Yeah,
That sounds about.
One thing I found though, the more you, and this is gonna sound maybe egotistical, but kind of business savvy-ish, I guess. The more I write and publish, the less I want to put stuff out there for free, because it kind of devalues your work sometimes. Because someone has to. I mean, I will put out feats and maybe a race every now and then.
Yeah.
Like Owen does his thing, but Owen's also paid full time to do his thing.
Yeah.
And Mike, you do your fan conversions and stuff, and I put out some stuff sometimes.
Yeah, the blog is a great way to bring attention to the fact I exist and have stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, definitely huge difference. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Don't only give away free things, but
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Have that Zen balance thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a difference too, because like I still have a stake in all the stuff that people see on my website. I profit when somebody buys a hybrid war book.
See,
that's fair.
See, Mike, I think I do it the opposite way. I release all of our shit online afterwards.
Yeah,
we have our wiki.
Although some of my stuff is making its way into wikis, I found the other day.
I'm cool with it.
I don't do it myself. Somebody else.
When I put our stuff on there, it's our base classes, our races, and a bunch of pre-gens I've been making because I was bored.
I mean, I just give away a lot of free stuff in the. You shouldn't have to buy any campaign setting I sell if you bought a supplement book.
Yeah,
like,
I agree
you should be able to play any of those adventures by just getting the free shit that I give away. For all the context and stuff, yeah. Or I'll reprint the rules. Like every Mists of Akuma adventure has the Mists of Akuma in it and the Adeto Oni and stuff. You know.
That's a good approach.
Yeah.
All right. I think that brings us to a good time to wrap up.
Sounds about right.
All right, guys. Well,
that's all, folks.
Thanks for coming, Sasha.
Yeah, that was fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
You blended in with the background today. All right, guys. Once again, thanks for joining us. Hope to see you guys in the future.
Definitely, yeah. Have fun, everyone.
Peace.
Later.